All over the United States, 75% of children don't know how to write well. Add that to the fact that so many people out there are trying to silence the voices of those who have been oppressed and trying to prevent them from telling their story. Who's going to tell your story? If your child doesn't know how to write well, I have 2 books to address this issue: The Rewrite Method and The Rewrite Method Workbook, written to make sure that parents know what to do, that educators know what to do to get their children to write better, and just not write better, but love to write. Make sure that your next generation could tell their story and they won't be silenced. Go to fallingforlearning.com today to purchase your set. We are here today to talk about career exploration. If you're not sure what you think your child would be able to do and you're worried about it, make sure you watch this episode. Like and subscribe. Hi, thank you so much for joining the Falling for Learning podcast. We have this podcast to help parents and caregivers with having the resources, strategies, and tools needed to make sure that their children are on track for learning and to stay on track for success. Hello, let's get into it today. Now, some of you think that, 10 years old is too early to get into finding out the career that a child wants to do. And listen to what I have to say about this. Now, I'm saying they need to begin career exploration, meaning they need to be trying out different activities, different skills, taking different courses, and volunteering, doing a variety of things so they could find out what they want to do with their lives. And that doesn't mean that you're pressuring them, but you're just having like regular conversations about what they could do to find a career that is fulfilling and that really uses their talents on a regular basis. Okay, so the more activities that you give your child and get them try out things, take them to events, try out new hobbies, the more they could determine what they like and what they don't like. And having like really simple conversations with them about, what they're doing, right? Like, that was really creative when you went to that play or when you participated in that play. People who are actors or actresses do that all the time. They, travel around the world and get in costumes. So maybe you'd be interested in doing something like that. As well as if they're just like organizing things for you, you could talk to them about how they may have a business for organizing or pursue that as a career option and be a professional organizer or even design different things. So, talking to them about career choices, even if you take them out to volunteer, if they get out into the nature and they're getting dirty, they may figure out they really like to do that and it's something that they may want to continue to do in their career. They may also find out that that's not what they want to do. And again, that is great information about knowing what they don't want to do, as well as things that they do want to do. And that will help lead them into a path of a career, entrepreneurship, pursuing a trade that is going to be fulfilling for them. So we don't want them to be in a job that they hate, that doesn't really utilize their talents, and then doesn't give them the fulfillment that they want. Because we know that people spend a lot of time working. And we also have heard of if you find something that you love, you never have to work a day of your life, right? When you love to do something, you pour yourself into it, you do extra time, you put in the extra effort, and it's not even a problem because it's what you love to do and what you want to do, which is different than, putting in the time because this is how you get paid, this is how you pay your bills, and being disconnected and discontented as a lifestyle. So that's something that we really need to think about, and we need to make sure that we're not having our children be involved in activities like that really don't make them happy and that really they are lacking, right? Getting our kids in the success mode is about them having a career that is fulfilling for them and also is, compensates them for their talents. So, when we're thinking about careers, let's get into the different aspects you want to talk to the children about. For example, salary is a big thing. Part of being fulfilled in your career is thinking about your salary. So, you know, having the idea like, this pays this much, and there's a range. It pays between 30,000 a year and 70,000 a year, and letting them know that. Now, if they're budgeting their money, if you teach them how to do that, any career can be fulfilling and help fit into their lifestyle budget. And that's something that they could learn over time. But it is an important conversation to have. Also, the amount of education that they have to have. You will go to a community college or a trade school for, 18 months, 2 years, 5 months. Uh, Rather, if you go for a year longer, you get to do this. If you go to a 4-year college, you will start your pay at this rate. Certain careers lend themselves to entrepreneurship. For example, being a plumber, being a hairstylist. Of course, you don't have to be, you can find someone to work for, but different careers are more likely to be something that is done as an entrepreneur on top of, pursuing your trade. So, all of these things are to consider. There's so much that is offered if you work for a government agency or a large corporation versus if you are working for yourself, right? One has more job stability. You are able to accrue vacation time. However, no matter how well you do that job, there is a ceiling on how much you make, right? They're like, this is the pay for this particular career, for this particular position, right? On the other hand, if you have your own business, of course, you can charge an amount for your services and you could also scale your business. So have people work under you. And as far as pay goes, there is no limit. You can set the bar where you want to and expand the business and into different locations, into different countries, into different states, right? So there's less limit, right? But again, less more freedom, no limit, but there is some a lack of stability. Lots of businesses do fail. So that is something that people have to consider as well. And sometimes it's not a fault of their own. Lots of businesses failed during the pandemic, for example, and that wasn't their fault. Different things happen that can cause that. So it's something that they have to consider. Are you a parent or caregiver that is passionate about your students' learning journey? Okay. So it doesn't matter if you're a homeschool parent or you're just an active participant in your child's education. I am advocating for you to get Rooted in Joy by Dr. Deanna Smith. Now, this book really helps you in guiding how to cultivate a love for learning, how to foster emotional growth, how to have personalized learning experiences with your child. And really, all of it is grounded in the ability to make children fall in love with learning, just like our Falling for Learning podcast really is about. Now, grab your book today. The link is in the show notes. We've talked about salary. We have talked about schooling and the amount of schooling that you need. Um, Again, we need to think about in terms of what the community is like or the interaction with others, right? Some people really like to work by themselves And there are careers that lend themselves to that. I've seen, for example, editors, people who edit things. They will be like in a little office by themselves editing things, and they primarily work by themselves. People come and visit them time to time, but a lot of that is done on their own. There are some jobs where you are working with teams of people. Like, this is your team. You're always working with this team of people, and that is the job. It's not for you to work by yourself and be by yourself. You constantly need to talk to people and check in with the people and, carry the load of certain tasks and projects. So, again, as you have your child interacting, maybe you have them working on a robotics team, you have them working on a Lego team, or whatever it is, you will help them to identify, I like to work with people, I don't like to work with people, I want to work with people under these particular circumstances. These experiences help them to get to know themselves better. And that is what we need to do, right? To get them on track and to stay on track for success, knowing themselves, knowing what they like, knowing how they want to use their talents and what talents they even have, right? When they try out new things, they get out of their comfort zone and they may discover new talents, new skills, and just open up worlds of opportunities for them that they didn't even know existed. So, how can we start these discussions? One way to do this is really, start with yourself. Start with your own job, your own career or business, and talk to your child about what you love about it, what you don't love, what are some drawbacks, how you got into it, what did you do before, and why you got out of it, right? And have really honest conversations with them about your career path and your challenges, setbacks, and even your triumphs, right? That is going to give your child some feedback and information. And of course, you don't just have yourself, right? You could have the other parent do it, as well as aunties, uncles, grandparents, your close friends, your cousins, whoever you interact with can talk about their job or career path. And again, giving your child information so that they can make an informed decision about what they want to do, why they want to do it, and what they need to sacrifice or dedicate themselves to in order to actually get involved the way they want to. Now, if this doesn't come naturally for you, I really encourage you to set a time, right? If we don't plan, we plan to fail. So our plan is for us to make sure that we are regularly having conversations about careers with our child. And our children need to think about the connections between what they do now and how they could translate that into a job, leverage it into a career, right? So, having them open to those possibilities and looking at their activities and their skills and their talents through the realm of business is very important. And I'm sure you've heard lots of stories where kids start their businesses early or start pursuing their careers early. And that's how we get success, is giving them a head start, giving them the competitive advantage because they are doing it for longer. They have more time that they've been dedicating to a particular task. Going back to the idea of fulfillment, we could talk to our kids about what problems do they want to solve as an adult. Because as kids, they are looking at adults and how they run the world and what they do. And they do start forming opinions like, nobody ever should be homeless. No one should ever, no dog or animal should be left alone, or whatever it is, right? They'll have these ideas about how the world should be, how things could be better. And that often comes at an early age from some experience that they had, and then helping them to pursue solutions, find out who is working towards a solution to the problems, and, help guiding them through that. We are going to have our blog post right down here, so take a look because these are some easy to implement ideas and activities to get your child on the path to figuring out what their career goal can be. So So we're not leaving it to chance. We're giving them opportunities. We're giving them experiences and, the ability to join and work with others and to collaborate and to talk to people about what their career journey is so that they can purposely set their path together, right? I had a fourth grade teacher who was really very strategic about telling me which classes to take, which clubs to get involved in. And she started me at that conversation in fourth grade. And even though some people might have thought it was early, I took notes. I went back and consulted with her. I spoke with her. She talked to me about how to get solid recommendation letters in fourth grade. Well established relationships, right? Not just getting recommendations from like someone that you just met. That's a year old. But going back to that fourth grade teacher and getting that recommendation letter means a lot more than getting your 11th grade English teacher who you're getting a scholarship for the year later that you just met in 11th grade. So it doesn't mean as much and is not as hard hitting, right? When you don't have that. So when we're talking about career paths, we also talk about what steps do we need to take to get into the schools that we want to get into the trade schools, how we want to set ourselves up for success. So even if someone is saying, I want to go into the military, there are ways to set children up for success in going into the military. Having them complete a certain amount of education, having them get involved in a ROTC or something like that before they go into the military. So, what are some pathways that lead to success in their career? What can they do now that their future self will thank them for, right? What can they get involved with now that's going to help lay the foundation for what they need and want to do? Now, of course, we are talking about getting ahead of it and giving them a competitive advantage, right? That's how we set kids up for success, not for them to stumble into something and find out later they don't like to do it, but they have to do it because they have all these responsibilities. But really thinking about the future in, positive ways and in constructive ways and strategic ways so that they will be on the path to success. So, again, we talked about talking to your kids. We talked about these experiences. But when we're really talking about it, nothing beats that hands on experience. So, again, once they have the hands on experience, bringing in the conversation part is very important. Like, did you like to get dirty? Or telling them what you notice. I notice you really like to get dirty. I notice you like to be outside. I notice you really liked working with others. So you are pointing out to them, talents, things that they're good at, things that they shine in to them so that they are, again, thinking about what really makes them happy, what really gives them some joy, right? And again, is helping them to shape their own ideas. So I really want to stress that I'm not talking about you making them choose a particular career, but you giving them opportunities, experiences, so they could have some real information to choose from when kids have not been involved in a lot of activities and they've just been, just around you and not really doing much of anything else. And again, you could give them experiences, you could take them places and all of that kind of stuff. So, there's different ways to get them involved, but the more that you put them in that mindset of thinking about a career, a business, a purpose in life, right? The better they will be equipped to actually choose a career that is going to be something that they love and that really feeds their passion about life. And again, they'll never have to work a day in the life. And they will find success in it because they will naturally pour into this and they won't be concerned about how much time they spent or anything like that because it's what they want to do. It's what they love to do. So, depending on your time and where you are and your money and all of that, you might be thinking about getting your kid involved in, you know, doing things for family members. When I was a kid, I helped my family organize different things. I would go over my Aunt Mary's house, help her organize papers, help her, get things together. And, it was something that had overwhelmed her or like she had gotten really behind with it. But for me, it was interesting, informative, and, we got to spend time with our Aunt Mary, get to know a little bit about her and what her career path was, and of course help her out in the process. She gave us some money, and it's just a win-win-win situation. And you would not believe how many times over the years I've used those filing systems to help keep myself together, to help other people get organized at work, in my personal life. And so those are skills that I still use to keep myself organized and on track, right? But a lot of people don't understand that and don't know that because, if they did not have those experiences. So those experiences are really important. You'll see that the family members will really find value in them, and the kids will have a lot of pride from giving to the family and being someone who's there that people can depend on. The UCLA Writing Project invites you to an event that will transform how we teach and support multilingual, multicultural students, newcomers, and speakers of African American English and Indigenous languages. The theme this year is the power of words, the strength of story. Keynote speaker is Joseph Velasco, and he's an acclaimed storyteller who is a theater artist and high school English teacher. He'll kick off the day um, really talking about how to help students find their voice. He has a rich background in theater arts and ethnic studies. Joseph brings his unique perspective on how words and stories empower students to find their voice and their lived experiences. There will be workshops with a social justice focus. Throughout the day, you'll participate in workshops that explore writing as a tool for social justice, addressing critical issues related to race, gender, and media. In addition to that, I will be one of the presenters there, and I will also be doing a book signing and selling books there. If you haven't got your copy of the Rewrite Method and the Rewrite Method workbook, or if you need to re up because you finished up that workbook with one of your students and another child is coming up, so don't miss TD Flenaugh is going to be there at the conference, the With Different Eyes conference. It is a wonderful conference to help support multilingual and multicultural students. Don't miss it. Let's talk about something that sometimes we have these pitfalls we go into, right? So we may say the girls will help with cleaning dishes, sweeping floors, mopping. So really different domestic jobs, and then we'll have boys relegated to outside work. So mix it up. You might find the girl likes to do plumbing things to help with cars. She might be a person who likes to do mowing the lawns or something like that. So do not relegate our kids to gender specific tasks because again, we're limiting them, and this point is not to push them into career, but open up opportunities for them to think about the possibilities for themselves, and that may be outside of normal gender roles. So outside of what women usually do or what men usually do, they may find their passion in things that they really love to do. So that's something we really need to think about, not just pushing the girls into doing domestic tasks, cooking, whatever, and then men, the boys are being trained for the outside task, picking up trash, picking up different things like that. So we want both of them to do, boys and girls to be involved in both types of work, and they will find some information about themselves. Maybe they are wanting to be in those gender roles as far as what kind of work women have traditionally done or men have traditionally done, but they may also find they're outside of that. They want to do something different and it's exciting to them and refreshing and exciting. So I, for one, have my daughter. She could do like tech work, like as far as like, troubleshooting different tech issues. I like to put together furniture. Again, I really like to do that. It's fun for me. I usually don't have any problems. I hear people, I look at the reviews. They're like, "Oh, that's a lot of problems putting that together," but it's something I really like to do. Now, of course, there's other things I don't like to do. I'm not a person who likes to work outside and all of that, but it's something that I know about myself and I've learned about myself over time. And again, your child will learn, maybe they have a combination or they're okay if they're outside for a certain amount of time. They will get very specific information about themselves. Again, that's going to give them a competitive advantage in their lives and how they're navigating their career. So, just to review all the things that we've talked about, make sure that you are having these conversations with your kids no later than 10 years old, not pushing them into a career, but giving them opportunities, experiences, and the opportunity to be in different communities and to work with teams and just a variety of different roles to try out through volunteering, through extracurricular activities, courses that they may take, so that they can have a real idea of what they like and what they don't like. They like to work with other people, they like to collaborate. They don't like to collaborate, they want to work by themselves. They want to be outside. They want to work in an office. They want to travel when they're working. So, just a whole list of things that they know about themselves, because that, and you probably have been given like a little questionnaire on what you like and you don't like. Kids may not know that unless you're actually taking them through those hands-on experiences. So make sure you get them out there and involved in a variety of tasks and skill development and all of that. The other thing that you really want to make sure that you do is get them some time with you to talk, right? Talk about their experiences, what they like, what they didn't like, why they didn't like it, what they might be interested in, what problems do they want to solve in the world. All of those things are going to give them a shift in their ideas and their minds about what they can contribute to the world. And that's again what we want them to carry on the legacy, for them to be, great citizens who are contributing to the world, that are giving back, and that are really working to their full potential because they are, grounded in their passion and doing work that really makes them feel more alive, more fulfilled, and happy overall. And that's real success, making sure that they're happy and fulfilled. Thanks again for joining us at this episode of the Falling for Learning podcast. Please do something that your future adult children will thank you for. Thanks again for supporting the Falling for Learning podcast. New episodes go live every Saturday at 5 p.m. You can watch us on youtube.com at Falling for Learning, or listen on all major podcast platforms such as Apple, Google, Audible, Spotify, and much more. For more resources, visit fallinginlovewithlearning.com. We really appreciate you. Have a wonderful week.